Hey everyone, hope y'all are doing good. Today I'm going to be sharing with you some crazy stuff that's been happening around here this past week. We've had a lot of family in for almost a week, and it all started last Friday. Paul's sister Sarah came in and stayed with us, and we was sitting out front. It was dark, and we was hearing, it sounded like howls, but it's really hard to tell out here because of all the bugs and crickets and frogs. It's really hard to hear, but it sounded like howls. And and then we had something that was kind of funny happen. We was sitting there, she was already excited from the stuff that she was hearing, and then we heard this. It's the best way I can describe it is it sounded like a bull. But we don't have any cows here, and but it was close, and she like, what is that? And then she started to jump up, I guess to run in the house, and then she just sat down and she pulled her legs up in the chair, and then Paul turned and he said, it's the cat snoring. And we all started laughing. But she got all excited. But anyways, we were sitting out there, and Paul, he's like, well, I'm going to go in and get my shower. And, me and her, we sat out there for a little bit longer. And then right after Paul come in the house, the hill that is opposite of us, there's nobody over there. Well, something let out this very high-pitched scream. I mean, it was very high-pitched. And it sounded more human than anything. This was not like a cat, like they say, big cat scream. I looked all that up. Did not sound anything like that. But it was loud. I mean, we could hear it over all the outside noises. And she was like, what was that? And I told her, I said, we hear the screams and the howls and everything out here a lot. That's just what goes on. And, but this was, I haven't really ever heard anything this high pitched, and I couldn't imagine what it would have been like if it would have been closer. I mean, it would have been ear piercing. Well, she stayed that night, and then all the next day, and then until late the next night, we was all together. And then the next day we had more family come in. Our daughter, Anna, she's a police officer. And then Emily, She is an ER nurse, and she used to be a flight nurse on a helicopter. And I wanted to tell that because, you know, with their high stress jobs, they have to be on their game and know what's going on and be aware of their surroundings and everything, you know. So, and then Emily's son, Bradley, he's 12 years old, and he's a very smart young man. He's a straight A student. But they all three of them experienced something while they was here. And so I'm going to be quiet and let y'all listen to what happened.
Came over here to Arkansas to see our family, and on July 17th, 2024, we were outside down at the creek, and we wanted to explore. So we came back up for our water shoes, and while I was waiting for Anna to be done putting on her shoes, I was sitting out in the chair in front of the house, and I heard like a big noise. It wasn't any animal noise. It sounded like it was like 300 pounds on the rocks at the creek. But it was like at the part of the creek where there's like big trees where you can't see anything. And it was like big, like loud. And it sounded like its shoulders were hitting the tree branch. And after that, I was scared, so I stood up. And it's gravel over there at the chair I was sitting at. So when my foot touched the gravel, it made like a noise, like a creak noise, or a crack noise on the gravel. And I'm telling you, it like ran, like fast. It did what I was saying, but a lot faster. So I ran inside to get Anna.
Bradley and I went down to the creek to explore, and we were walking through the water, and we were getting to a point where the creek turns and it wasn't really easy to access through there to continue on. So we were standing there, and he was looking off to the left, and all of a sudden, about 8 foot in front of me, there was a white orb that appeared about 5 or 6 inches above the water and just dropped down into the water, and it made a really loud noise, loud enough that Bradley turned around to see what it was, and it was gone. It just was there and it was gone. And I looked up in the trees. There was no trees or none of the limbs or leaves were moving to make me think that it came from above, because I was looking straight ahead and it just appeared out of nowhere and dropped down into the water. At that point, Bradley and I started backing out of the creek, and that's when we started hearing another noise off in the distance.
It was like, you know when the T-Rex moves on Jurassic Park, how it's loud? It sounded like that noise from about 3 miles ago, or away, and there was like a little bit of leaves crunching. It wasn't that loud because it's not fall, but there was a little bit with that loud like T-Rex stomp, and it did every so often like there was something moving out there. So we went back, and back when I was in the chair and looked, we had chickens here. They made noises like they were scared, and when whatever that was went through the trees, it like, you know how birds on branches, when the branches are hit, they like fly away? There was birds flying away and the branches moving, and then the chickens made like a noise, like really scared. That's when I ran in. But when we got back, the chickens were like hiding out in the forest, and we came in scared. And that night, we went out exploring on our mule and four-wheeler, And we came back because it was about to storm. And Mom heard the noise.
Well, whenever you heard the noise, it hadn't started raining real hard yet. It was
No, it was like two trees that were kind of hitting together, but it sounded like it was far out in the woods. And I heard it twice. The first time I was walking, and the second time I kind of stopped to look, and that's when I heard it again. So I was just kind of looking out in the woods, and about the same area that Bradley had showed me where they saw the orb in the creek. I was looking out there, and it sounded like there was another sound where trees were hitting, but it wasn't as loud, and it sounded like it came from that area. And then all of a sudden I saw like a really bright light. It was kind of like the flash that's on a phone camera, but it stayed lit up for a second, and by the time I really focused on it, it disappeared.
about how big around was it?
It was about the size of a softball.
Softball. And the orb that you saw, Anna, about how big was it?
It was about the size of a softball.
And then the noise that Bradley described as sounding like the T-Rex. Can you kind of elaborate on that a little more as to what you heard as well? Because you heard it as well.
Yeah, he made a reference to the movie, and in the movie you can hear off in the distance when the T-Rex is approaching. It's like a loud noise,
Yeah.
kind of like almost kind of like thunder.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we were hearing after we saw the orb, or I saw the orb.
And it kind of sounded like a jet engine, but a jet engine is constant. It sounded like footsteps, but that loud.
But that loud. All right. Well, I thank y'all for telling what y'all heard out here. And just want to let everybody know that there's crazy stuff that happens out here, and seems like people, when they come out, they get to experience some stuff. So, but thank y'all very much.
You're welcome.
And now that y'all, got to hear what they experienced, I'm not going to sit here and say that, orbs are Bigfoot. I don't know. It just seems like they go together a lot. It's crazy stuff. I wish we had more answers, but, I do know my daughter, she was really, it really shocked her. And I told her, I said, this is my life. This is what I deal with a lot. And, but she really, I could tell it really puzzled her as to what she saw and, what it did, because she said that she seen it and it just dropped into the water and it splashed, and Bradley heard the splash, but, and then, Emily hearing the knocks and then seeing the same type of orb light over in the almost same area. So I don't know. I mean, it's just all crazy stuff. And then also, and something that they forgot to mention, when we was out, riding around, we kept, actually before we started riding around, we kept smelling that, like strong urine smell. They smelled it. And then as we was, riding around, we would get little whiffs of it, here and there. Is that them? I don't know. But I know at times it is so strong out here that, when you walk outside, it literally, it almost makes you want to gag. And, there's been other people that have smelled it as well. And I've heard people say that, they have had the same smell when a Sasquatch was around. So, I don't know. It's just all, I guess, theory. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed listening to their stories, and hope everybody has a good rest of the week, has a great weekend, and please take care and hope the good Lord blesses everyone.